The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, show number 558. That's right. I'm your host, Bill Napick. Thank you for joining us right here on the big show. It's a real estate adventure every week. If you've been a regular listener, you know that. We always have interesting people. Today is no different. Super people abound on this show. And simply go to stewart.com/radio. That's right. You could see the show. You could see the YouTube video of each and every show. And you could also access the show archives at stewart.com/radio. Today, we're going to start off with Fernando Chavita. His company is called Casa Antigua Realty. Fernando, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. So let's tell people about Casa Antigua Realty.
So I am an agent there. The broker is owned by Martha Gill. It's located out of the East End. It started originally as a broker in order to kind of just handle her own deals. She does a lot of investing and things like that, right? And then over time, some of the relationships she built in the industry kind of jumped ship with her. It was like, hey, you have your license, you're doing your own thing. Is there room for agents on there? And the rest of that was just history. Now we're slowly growing, making a little name for ourselves in the city.
Right here on the big show, you're making a name and telling people all about Casa Antigua. So let's tell people, first of all, when we talk about geographically where you are, certainly you go all over Houston, Fernando, but specifically, let's say in the last 20 transactions, where have you spent most of your time helping buyers and sellers?
I'm on the south side, so kind of like that Gulf Gate 610 area down. I live over in Galveston County in League City. I used to work also in Galveston County as well, and so a lot of my sphere comes from that area, and through those resources, it's kind of opened me up to. I'm all over the place: Chester, Texas, out towards Louisiana, Cleveland, really all over.
And right now, are you helping more buyers or sellers?
It's been a little bit more of a buyer-driven market just because of the interest rates. A lot of my spheres. That early 30s kind of age group where they're trying to get into home ownership for the first time. And so interest rates are a concern. So we're definitely moving over to the new construction with the in-house financing that they're offering. So
in your business, as far as buyers go, it sounds like you're doing a lot with the first-time home buyers.
That's been it. Just given where when I look at my initial friends group in my sphere, I went ahead and just targeted that just because, we're in our early 30s, mid-30s, and now home ownership is something that I guess our generation is starting to move into.
It's interesting to think about that. I'm not that far from the 30s, maybe 10 years, give or take, But anyway, all that said, what's going on in the mindset? Let's say take people in their 30s and 40s, and they're just approaching the home market. What are some of the things they're thinking about, Fernando, and how are you helping them?
It's kind of tough just because depending on the age group, but I've got some individuals that are on fixed income and they're seeing increases in insurance and taxes and things like that. And so they're having to kind of approach it in a different manner. I also have some individuals that used to downsize, or we used to downsize at a certain age, but given the fact that, like I said, interest rates and what's going on in the economy and everything like that, downsizing isn't really the best option right now just because of the finances. So they're holding on to these properties a little bit more. And so then the younger group, they're renting currently. So some of them are also feeling kind of that wrath of the increase in rents. And so now they're definitely entertaining home ownership. And that's kind of where these conversations start to open up a little bit.
And also focusing just for a second on the first-time buyers, whether it's an individual or a couple, in your experience, do they come to you and they say, hey, we're ready, we've been renting, rent's going up, or we're just now ready, we've saved some money? Or are you out there also promoting the idea that, hey, whatever, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, or hey, Joe, or whatever, have you thought about buying your own home? How often are you being proactive to where you go out there and say, hey, man, you shouldn't be spending the money on the rent where you could own blah, blah, blah?
I am heavy education, and so I spend a lot of my marketing is on social media, and it's really sitting down and taking everything that I'm learning in these transactions and educating people. I find that a lot of people are scared to kind of speak up and ask for a little bit of guidance, a little bit of assistance, and so educating has allowed me through social media to kind of drop that bridge and kind of ease the entry where people come to me and say, hey, I noticed you mentioned something along the lines of this. And so it's been a lot of educating, and I work with some people that are ready. They don't realize how ready they are. And I've also worked with people that right now, I've got a guy I'm working with. We're probably not going to be ready for a year. And so right now we're just taking care of some things and kind of setting ourselves up for when that time comes.
And that's probably a great thing. And from this person's standpoint, I would think they were very appreciative of that you'd be willing to work with them that amount of time and give them the information to be ready, because it's a good point. Not everybody in the first time home buyer market is ready to go at that moment, and to have the right real estate professional like you, Fernando Chavita.
There you go.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Doing great work out there, Fernando.
It's been a little challenging, but because I came into this game and the goal is longevity, and so for me it's planting these seeds where if you teach somebody something, they'll remember you for life, right? And so versus if I just handle a transaction and I just kind of end it, be done with it, treat it like it's just another number. There's no connection there. And so for me, the easiest way to connect with somebody is through giving them something that they can pass down to their family. Hey, this agent with nice hair one day, showed me this about real estate, and I'm going to show it to you. To me, that's just the easiest way to grow this business and quote unquote market.
In fact, that's very, very profound that you're looking at the long game like that. That's awesome. And they will remember you and theoretically come back again and again as long as they're in the area. And, of course, when it's time to leave, they'll list the home with you. Fernando.
Referrals, a lot of referrals.
That's awesome. So let's talk about social media. Before we started recording, sounds like you have some insights into how to use some of the vehicles like Instagram and Facebook. So for those of us that are in the real estate profession, give us an idea or two how we can improve our social media. Let's take Facebook. You use Facebook, right?
I do both. And so for me, it's easier to create a video through the structure of the Instagram platform. And then from there, whenever I upload it through there, it directly uploads it to Facebook. So I'm not having to work twice as hard. And so it's easier to structure a video in that format and then take it over to Facebook's a lot more free range. So you can't start in Facebook and then come down to Instagram. The quality and the message, and it won't be the same. But definitely I take the opportunity to do that format, and then I move it over to TikTok and YouTube Shorts as well.
So to get results, let's take Facebook. What would you use Facebook for? Listings or
everything?
Everything.
Yeah, my entire life is on social media. If you wanted to know where I was going to be or what I was doing, you could probably get on Facebook and find out. Luckily, I'm not doing anything crazy or anything like that. I don't have nothing to worry about, but I'm very, very open and honest on social media.
You're using it mostly for business, sounds like.
All for business, yeah.
And you're seeing results.
Yes.
How often does someone find you from your post wherever they are that let's say within the city, and then let's say you get anybody from outside of the state through the social media? I'm not really targeting the individuals from out of state, which is something that I'm trying to use to scale my business now going forward, because I feel like I have exhausted a lot of my initial spear. And so it's very rare that I get a direct referral from these platforms. I look at it more so as a consistency. It's me putting myself out there and just staying in people's mind when it comes to really all things real estate. But I try to sprinkle a little bit of personality on there because I feel like that's the one thing I have that no one can copy is my own individual personality, which we all have. I know you have personality. I knew that the moment you walked in the room, and I like the way you put it. You sprinkle a little personality. and it goes a long way.
Absolutely, in an industry that is overly saturated, in an industry that we all kind of are doing the same thing. I think the biggest piece of advice that I have learned in my career was to just lean in a little bit more into who I am and what it is that drives me and pushes me. That's the one thing that I think no one else is doing, because it's only one me, and I would never be able to do it how somebody else would be able to do it. It is a little tough market. We are seeing some things we've never seen before. There's no way to really kind of trend what's happening right here, but there's always an opportunity, and if you just stay ahead of it, whether it's me or any other agent in the industry, find somebody you trust, find a good team, and you can make a lot of things happen in this industry.
Let's tell people how they can reach you.
Best way to get a hold of me is my telephone number, 832-896-7615. 832-896-7615.
Fernando, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
As we continue, let's talk to Arch Currid. The company is Treetop Realty Group. Hey, Arch, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Great to hear the name, Treetop Realty Group. It looks like you can oversee things, and it's just I think a very memorable name. Let's tell people about the company.
Okay, so Treetop Realty Group is a new brokerage in the Woodlands, Montgomery County area. I just started it. It's been a 5-year plan that's come into effect in the last month. I got my broker license last month, been in the industry 5 years. Before that, I spent 18 years in oil and gas, so quit that full-time job to take on real estate full-time. So Treetop Realty Group, the way I got that business name is a play on the Woodlands. So living in the trees or amongst the trees. I've lived in the Woodlands since '97, so a very long time, very familiar with the area. And so that is an ode to the Woodlands, Treetop Realty Group. So right now I am in the process of building all the tools, the procedures, the plans, the training, all the things that go with a new brokerage. I kicked around the idea of going and joining one of the big boys, but after working in corporate America for 18 years for somebody else, decided it's time to work and do something on my own.
The time is now.
That's right.
And also you have a degree in economics, much needed at this point in time. I think that would be great to have that kind of information. You grew up in a military family, I'm told.
I did, yes, sir. My dad was in the military and the Air Force for the last 26 years. Just recently retired, so we moved around every 2 to 3 years. I understand the stresses and the hassles that comes with moving. Some of my favorite clients are, in fact, veterans that I've gotten to work with recently. And then kind of a play on the veterans community efforts, it's always been near and dear to my heart. So I'm actually on the board of directors at a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit based out of Conroe. That's called Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary. So they provide equine therapy programs to veterans and retired first responders. And that's located there in Conroe, just north of the Woodlands.
And describe equine therapy. I have an idea, and maybe people listening do as well, but...
So they have a few different programs. I actually brought you a brochure so you could read up on it. But we have a few different programs. We have an equine director there that... we have self-care Saturdays in the mornings on Saturday morning, where you get to bring in the veterans. They get to spend time with horses. You can do everything from groom the horses to just spend time around them. There's teachings of the horse and the energy and how the horses can receive energy and help veterans cope with PTSD and this transition kind of back into civilian life.
That's interesting because all animals, I think, at least friendly ones, if they're not trying to attack you, you have the opportunity to where they are therapeutic. Almost any kind of animal, from a small rabbit to a large horse. But I think it's fascinating. There is something about the horse that it's kind of magical, really.
It's very magical. Yeah, they can pick up your heartbeat about 30 feet away, and they can feel your energy. So if you're anxious, they'll become anxious. If you're calm, they'll be very, very calm. And it's a very unique, very tranquil environment, and we've had a lot of really positive reactions and involvement.
How do they pick up that sense from hearing or vibrations? Do you know?
I think it's from vibrations.
That's even more fascinating.
Yeah, and of course there's scent. They can smell.
And when we think about horses, there's been a lot of talk on this show in the last couple months, at least 3-4 shows. Horses have been a big part of it, but for years up until, and I'm watching the show 1923. For years, that was the way that was transportation for centuries.
Yes, it was.
And then there's a transition to the automobile, and here we are. But the horses are so important to the development of this country, and now in helping veterans.
Exactly.
And it's called Henry's Home.
Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary.
Do you have a horse, Arch?
I do not.
But
I have a couple favorites out there.
It sounds like you're around them a bit.
I am, yes.
So that's fascinating. Now, you say you were a regular real estate agent, and then you were inspired to be a broker. Tell us a little bit about what your inspiration was. You kind of touched upon it, but give us some more.
Yeah, so
because it's more responsibility, more courses, more
very
extra
much
costs,
yes.
And all that.
There's a lot more to it. So I started in real estate about 5 years ago. I had a family friend that was a broker in Montgomery County, and a mutual friend of Hope's as well, Jane Hardcastle, and she's very well known in the Woodlands. Spent 40+ years in the area, and I reached out to her, said, "Hey, I'd like to be a real estate agent. I know you don't sponsor very many people, but would you consider it?" She sponsored me, became a wonderful mentor. To this day, we're still very close friends. She mentors me and has supported this jump into my own brokerage. And so 5 years ago when I got into it, I started the path of, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to eventually start my own brokerage. So I got my agent's license. I was doing part-time real estate and working at an engineering and construction company, and doing commercial management and contracts. And then ultimately, as we got towards the 5-year mark and I've achieved all of my continuing education and my number of transactions, I moved over into getting the broker license and then transitioning what was a team of Treetop Realty Group to now the brokerage Treetop Realty Group.
So then, as far as agents go, if someone wants to become part of your team, how does that work?
Well, they would reach out to me. Right now, like I said, we're early stages of building. Right now, it's just me, a team of one, but that is quick to change. I'm already in discussions with a few other agents that have expressed interest in coming over to join me. I'm in process of, I've got the E&O insurance, I've got the policies and procedures, I've got some training material documented. And so this year is the year of building Treetop Realty Group.
We're talking with Arch Currid. The company is Treetop Realty Group. Going back to, you were working with a regular job, corporate America, so to speak. You had benefits, I'm imagining.
Yes.
You got paid well with your economic credentials and marketing and business and things like that. Was it scary just to become a real estate agent, to leave that to be a real estate agent? How did you pull the plug? Because many people might be in that position right now, and many people that are realtors had to make some kind of decision wherever they came from. But to quit a big job and say, hey, I'm going to work straight commission, pay all these expenses and time.
Yes.
How was that? Tell us about that.
It is scary. I spent the last 20 years on a W-2, right? So benefits, great pay.
Yeah, they take
salary,
care of the taxes for you.
Absolutely. 401k, all the works, right? But really what's aligned is I have a very supportive wife that I just got married at the end of last year. That she works, has a great job. And I've been able to use this last 4 years to build my pipeline, my client pipeline, my reputation, the brand, and everything's just kind of allotted. And this year it's put me in a position where I had to choose a path. Either start turning down real estate business or take it on full time and just go 100%. And that's what I'm doing now.
Now, I could be wrong, but you strike me as a person that you mentioned the word plan. I have a feeling that you're a person that plans, you lay things out. There's possibly an outline for next week and maybe even a few months.
Yes.
Tell us about how you plan in case some of us want to learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I did was I planned a pipeline, and I put together a business plan. I put together a marketing plan, some community events, those type of things, how I could get my name out there. And then really it's just been building the brand, being very vocal on all of the social media. You can find me on every social media platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I've got Treetop Realty Group, the website. I'm on YouTube as well. And just being able to start that early with the 5-year plan, knowing that I was going to turn this team into an overall brokerage called Treetop Realty Group. I would say just one of my taglines for my business is local roots, higher expectations. So
Goes with the tree again.
Goes with the tree, exactly. Yeah. So local roots being, I grew up, most of the time that I've spent as an adult has been in the Woodlands. So I've got local roots to that area in the Montgomery County. And the higher expectations, meaning that I'm holding myself to higher expectations. I will hold my real estate agents to higher expectations, and my clients should expect higher expectations and a level of professionalism that's unmatched in that area.
Sounds good to me. Arch, let's tell people how they can reach you.
You can reach me at via cell phone number, 713-540-6903, or you can email arch@treetoprealtygroup.com. I'm also on treetoprealtygroup.com or Treetop Realty Group in any of the social media platforms.
And the phone number is?
713-540-6903.
Good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, sometimes my favorite time of the show is when we get to talk money, and we do that today with Andrea Barrios with Casa Quest Mortgage. Here she is. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, money's always great. It's the lifeblood of almost everything, right?
Yeah, money talks.
And Casa Quest Mortgage. Let's tell people about the company, Andrea.
Yes, I'm a mortgage broker for Casa Quest Mortgage. It is my brokerage. My father kind of passed down the torch to me. He was in real estate for about 30 years, so I was pretty much raised in the industry. My mom's also a realtor, so I'm pretty sure my first words were probably flip, refinance, or loan modification.
Or what's the rate, right?
Yeah, what's the rate? Can we close?
Can we close? Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. And I guess a lot of family businesses want to pass the torch to offspring and things, but you were ready to receive the torch, apparently.
Yes, and my sister's actually in the industry as well. She actually kind of got out of the industry, but I wanted to stay in it. I've been in it focusing fully on it for about 6 years now. Started as a loan processor and then a commercial loan officer, and then from there started going into residential.
And even just in 6 years, Andrea, the changes and the dynamics of the marketplace, with, again, anytime money's involved, there are dynamics. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
It is crazy the way the market has changed in necessarily even the past few months. Rates have been going up and down. 1 week it's at 7%. The next week I have someone at 5.25%. So it's market is very crazy and unpredictable.
And I imagine people asking you all the time, what's the rate, Andrea?
Mm-hmm. As when I checked this morning for a 30-year fixed on an FHA was about 6.6.
So what about a 15? They say the 15-year is a little bit less. How much is 15 roughly?
So for a 15, we're looking at about 6%. Depending on the interest rate, it is heavily factored with the person's credit score and your DTI as well, and how much down payment you're putting in. So that's actually a fun fact a lot of people don't know. If you put more down, your interest rate can actually come down as well.
You're reading my mind, because I was going to say, what if I wanted a 15% or a 15-year mortgage and I want to put down 20%?
The interest rate comes down. I got someone approved with a 15%, 15-year, about 5.25 last week, and we closed. They were very happy. We got them down payment assistance as well. Not with that bigger down payment, but
that sounds like a good number. Because I think the 5s are a number that might make you're in the business, but I'm guessing it's a good number where people feel kind of comfortable, more so than when we get to those higher 7s and so forth.
Exactly. And a lot of people also don't know there's different buy down options. You can do a 2-1 buy down, or you can permanently buy down the rate. It, depending on the lender, is how much you would buy down the rate for. So there's some lenders that for $1,500 you can buy it down from 5.75 to 5.25.
And then how often in your world are you helping, say, the first-time couple or the first-time individual?
First-time home buyers, those are actually The last 5 years has been a lot more when I was processing loans, but when I've been doing it myself, I've been, I want to say about 6 or 7 for first-time home buyers with down payment assistance. That's where my niche is with down payment assistance. I've been able to help someone close with, they brought $800 to closing.
And they got to buy a house.
And they got to buy their house in Manville. And I worked with them for a year total, trying to get them to get ready to buy the house.
It doesn't happen overnight.
It does not. So a lot of people are really scared when they see the interest rate, or it's the biggest purchase they're going to make in their life. How often are you going to buy a $500,000 purchase? And so having the tools and the education and making sure that you're making that educated purchase is where I strive, is making sure that the borrowers understand what they're going through, whether they're going to go borrower paid or lender paid, whether they know what that means, and making sure that the option works best for them with down payment assistance as well.
Give us a word about down payment assistance. There may be people out there that don't know it's available, but we usually think when we talk about mortgage, we think about the things, the credit scores we need, and those things in the employment history, those types of things. But to qualify for the loan, but how do you weave in the down payment assistance? How do you qualify for that? Is it different, or is it like a little package?
It depends on the lender. So there's actually, as a broker, I work with a lot of different lenders, and so that's why it's important to ask the borrower a bunch of questions at the beginning to understand where exactly we can place them. So every lender has a different down payment assistance program, and they have different qualifications. I have a lender that I was able to qualify someone for a down payment assistance, and they made $180,000 a year. But that was that lender specifically.
How long it takes, or how many questions and consultations do you have with someone, again, whether it's an individual or a couple, to where you get an idea of the right kind of loans? Do they need the down payment assistance, private mortgage insurance, all these things? If I come to you, how long is it going to take me to determine, for you to help me determine, let's just say as an individual, I say, hey, I want to buy a home that's X dollars. Here's my financial stuff. And then how does that go from there, the consultation? And how many times are we going to consult?
So typically about 2 to 3 times, just because at first I would like to know what their long-term goals are. There are people who want to start purchasing homes and doing investing. So then I would recommend house hacking and then go into what house hacking is.
What is it?
House hacking is actually really fun. I love talking about it.
Please do, because that's the first time I think that those 2 words have been uttered.
Really, it's actually, it's not a newer concept, but it's more talked about because a lot of people like hearing about investing, because this is where you can make the passive income. And house hacking is great for people who want to help with the mortgage payment. So house hacking is when you can purchase a house which is more than 1 unit. So let's say you have a 4-unit purchase. You live in one, you lease out the other 3, and then the lease from the other properties offset the mortgage. So essentially, if you can get a property that is not that expensive and you lease out the other ones, some people have actually made profit through that. So someone else is paying their mortgage.
Interesting. And then what about people, forget the first-time buyers for a second, but what about people that are, they've lived in their home 7 years and they're going about their lives and they haven't even thought about mortgage or buying a property, but it's now the time to get a loan. They're going to sell their house, and all of a sudden they're back in the market. What are the things that they should know, someone that's been out of it, and here they are 7 years, and they're like, okay, it's time to buy. What should they know about getting a loan and getting their stuff together?
Its process is essentially pretty much the same. You have to make sure that your debt to income is not higher than a certain amount. So making sure that you don't have that much debt. Something that I've noticed a lot, even in older generations, is the education, the loans for education. And that's where it's been very difficult for a few people to qualify, because there's people who have bought their home and then started getting student loans, and that's where it hurts them a little bit. But making sure that your financials are in order. There's a lot of people that say, I'm never going to be ready to buy a home because of the interest rates. But if you're financially ready and you're making the income, you don't have a lot of debt, then you're ready. This is a lot of real estate professionals like to say, date the rate, marry the house, because interest rates are always going up and down.
How often, and everything's different, but when you talk about debt, when you look and you get to see a side that most of us don't, even realtors, but you see the financials of the couple and the individuals that come in to see you, right? So do people have a lot of debt out there? That's a general question, but the average person or average couple, how much debt they carrying around?
When it comes to student loans, that's where I've seen a lot. So there's a few married couples that I've seen where they both have student loans, they have law degrees, and their debt to income, their debt has been almost in the 100,000s. And so but there's things that they can do for that as well. They can consolidate the loans. A rule of thumb is if you don't have any payments for your loans, for your education loans, then it's 5% of the minimum payment that you have to put into the loan, if that makes sense.
Do most people you see have a loan on a car?
Yes.
How often do you see people that have their car outright? Don't owe money on it. Why are you laughing?
Almost no one. I'm laughing
Almost
because
no one.
this
That's
is
why we're getting to the real stuff. That's why it's called Real Estate Matters.
Yeah, and I'm laughing because I see, and thank you for bringing it up. I feel like this is something that if you have not purchased a car, please wait. Do not buy that $80,000 Tesla. Do not buy that $80,000 Ford. Buy your house first, and then buy your car, because we're not going to check your financials after. Right.
Then we're going to be on the way. But the thing is, and then what about credit card debt? What do you see there?
Thankfully, actually, credit card debt, I feel like recently a lot of people have learned how to manage their credit card debt. So there's a rule of thumb is make sure that you don't go over 30% on your credit card, and that's how you can keep your credit score also higher. Credit card debt, I have not seen that much of, thankfully.
Fascinating. We're talking with Andrea Barrios with Casa Quest Mortgage. Andrea, before we close the segment, what else should we know?
I am also an educator for continuing education for realtors, and I also host a lot of workshops and seminars for buyers. I have first-time home buying seminars, and I also have my first house hacking seminar on April 15th at 6 o'clock at my office. So I'm very big on educating the borrowers and that they make that educated purchase, like I stated before.
So we should stay in touch with you, right?
Yes, you can see all of my seminars and workshops on my website at casaquestmortgage.com, or you can call me and I can give you a one-to-one. Phone number 832-319-9779.
You're psychic, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
There's like three times I was going to ask you and you knew. The number again is?
832-319-9779.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance, with a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers. Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is with Stewart Insurance, John Bramlett.
Hello, Bill.
Well, here we are, John.
Great show.
It's amazing. I love the energy that the guests have today and also the wealth of information.
Yeah, I mean, the professionalism today is exceptional.
It really is. And, today, I don't know that it's a show first, but it's a show, at least it's one of the few times that this has happened with you and I talking, and I don't even know if you're aware of it.
And that we're both wearing sport
We're
coats?
both wearing blazers, because I rarely wear a blazer, but here we are today.
Do you have a job interview later on?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But just saying,
You're looking sharp.
Well, thank you. So, insurance time, once again.
Once again, on the March 30th show, we talked about flood insurance, and we talked about, do people have enough coverage? And I wanted to continue that conversation because the first forecast for the 2025 hurricane season just came out. So there's the National Oceanic Administration, NOAA, and then Colorado State University are really the two key resources that come out and provide the forecast for hurricane season. And Colorado State's came out just last week. So I wanted to visit a little bit about that because they're expecting it to be a busier than normal season.
And what's disturbing is certainly we think here in the Houston area about hurricanes, flooding, all that, but I've never seen flooding in other parts of the country like, unfortunately, we've seen it just in the last few weeks. It's unsettling.
I mean, it's a little concerning that people have that perception that it's strictly a coastal issue, and
well,
it's not. I mean, it's not. I mean, so it's and that's why the National Flood Insurance Program has designated so many areas as flood, with different levels of flood zones and flood, probabilities of flooding because of that. But they're saying, the folks at Colorado State are saying that they're thinking something along the lines of 17 named storms this year. 9 of those will be hurricanes. And of those 9, 4 will be what they consider a major storm, 111 miles an hour winds or greater. So pretty scary.
So much crazy weather that happens.
Well, it is. And I mean, last year we had a 4 to 5 named storms that came through the 5 last year that came up through the Gulf of Mexico. So we had 5 hurricanes that came up through the Gulf of Mexico. So this year, they're talking about 9 hurricanes and 4 of them being major. While they can't project, which state they will come through or, where they will originate, they do feel like that 70% of those that we've talked about, those named storms, could track within 50 miles of the Texas coast.
What's interesting is, I think it's interesting, and that is the book that I just picked up, the audio book called Invisible Influence. As I was listening, walking the dog this morning, they talked about how hurricane names influence the trends of names that parents give their newborns after the storm. That's all the different things that influence.
And that is because?
It's because it's in the...
Is it a hurricane baby or?
No, it's that, like with Hurricane Katrina, this book uses the example that when Hurricane Katrina came, after that, Kimberly, Katrina, names would begin, Carson, names that had that sound. It's just
this
a
almost
cultural
sounds
phenomenon.
Like maybe a Walter and Johnson topic.
Well, it could be. But so many things influence what happens. But hurricanes, other than weather, influence other cultural things.
Well, it is. And that's, I think that's why we want to continually talk about the validity of having flood coverage. I mean, we're going to get a feel for what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration thinks next month. But I mean, just the fact that they're projecting 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 that are going to be major. I think it's worth folks to. This is still a good time to consider having flood coverage and having a conversation with your insurance advisor about flood coverage and the options that are available.
And as we started out, certainly if you're listening outside of the Texas, the Houston area, Stewart Insurance, you're helping people get the flood coverage that they need in the United States, not just here.
That's correct. We have clients all over the U.S. But, I mean, a good majority of the flood coverage that we write is going to be in Texas and along the Gulf Coast in Florida.
And what are some of the other things we should be thinking about, John?
Well, I just think the fact that it's important that, we realize that an inch of water can do $25,000 worth of damage to a home. So if an individual or a family feels like that they can absorb that, and that's assuming that it's only an inch of water that's in the home, then maybe flood coverage is not as important. But if they'd like to offset some of that expense of potential flood damage, then that's where having a conversation about flood insurance makes sense, and knowing that there are options out there beyond just what comes from the National Flood Insurance Program, that there are private companies that we work with that offer flood coverage as well. And depending upon the size of the home and the value of your properties and some of the other expectations that you might have, that's going to drive the coverage that we would take a look at.
Like in certain cases, homes that, as I read the Wall Street Journal, the real estate section on Friday, they focus on this celebrity, this financial tycoon is selling their $30 million, $40 million place, and so on. And I would think that if they get flood coverage, if they even get it, they're going to be using a private company.
Well, perhaps. They are. I mean, the National Flood Insurance Program, their liability limit on the structure itself is $250,000, and their liability limit for the personal property is $100,000. So there's a good chance if somebody has a home, in excess of, it's valued at more than $800,000, that their structure to repair or replace, as well as to repair or replace their possessions, is going to be greater than $250,000 and $150,000. So when Andrea was talking about spending time with her prospective clients to get to know them and understand what those needs are, so she can place their loan with the best partner that she has as possible based on their needs, we do the same thing. So that's why it's important to understand that in some cases, coverage from the National Flood Insurance Program may make sense. Or if it doesn't, like the example you gave, then let's look at some private companies. that have higher liability limits, that might provide better coverage for collectibles and antiques, that might provide coverage if you had to move out of the home, so they could help with some of your temporary housing costs. So depending upon what's important to that individual will drive the coverage that we'll write.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about as far as my own home just recently, and not necessarily flooding, I was thinking, it's been a long time at the home I live in now that I videotape my belongings should something happen. Like if I just heard about 2 people that have had fires that I know. But fires, flooding, theft, I think it's probably a good idea every now and then to run through with a video and to otherwise, in addition, inventory your belongings.
Absolutely. Get a feel for what it would cost to repair or replace. Because you may have set a number for your home for the replacement costs that was valid 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but now in today's market may not be. So it's always good to do that assessment, maintain the receipts that you have, but like you said, videotape what your possessions are so you can talk about, this is what I have and this is what it's going to take to replace them. That's where it's important to keep those records and as you said, videotape, know what you have, and then make sure that the limits that you have are set as best as they can be, and then understand overall what coverage you do and don't have, so that you're accepting the fact that I'm going to have to self-insure for a certain amount of this, or you know what, I'm not comfortable with that, so I'm going to try to offset as much of that exposure, as much as that cost as I can onto the insurance company. And that's just based at that point on economics. So, what can you afford from an insurance perspective? And if you are risk averse, then let's find as most coverage as we can for what your budget will accept. If you're not risk averse and maybe you're willing to take on some of that risk, then maybe you'll take on more of that and be a bit more self-insured and only have coverage for things that might be catastrophes.
Always enlightening, John. Let's tell people how they can learn more.
They can reach us at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. They can learn more about us at stewartinsurance.com or email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com. 866-798-2827.
Thank you, John.
Always a pleasure, Bill.
And now we get to talk to several of our business development people. Right here in Houston, we have, maybe 15, 16. I lost count. But if you're in Houston, we have tremendous individuals here to help you, whether you're a real estate professional or you say, hey, where should I close my real estate transaction? Well, we always suggest Stewart Title. And again, we have representatives representing each of our offices here in Houston. And if you're outside of Houston, in addition, they are there to help you. You can go to Stewart.com to find the closest office. That's Stewart.com. And guess what? Right now, here is Brittany Hernandez. Brittany, welcome to the show.
What's up, Bill?
It's all real estate because real estate matters, right?
With Stewart Title.
Exactly. So let's tell people about your office and where you're serving real estate professionals.
So we are what I like to call the land of pears. We are in Pearland off 288 South. We're right in between Alvin, Manville, Iowa Colony, everything that's popping that way right now.
And people are listening from afar and they say, is there really a place called Pearland?
It is. And it's not Pearland, it's Pearland.
Pearland, that's right.
We have a sign at Hometown Sports Bar and Grill that actually says it's Pearland, not Pearl Land.
I'm glad you cleared that up. That really helps.
It makes sense.
It really does. Tara Hobbs is doing tremendous work. Let's tell people a little bit about Tara because she has longevity with the company. And as
19 years.
19 years.
That's a long time. But she's amazing at what she does, so.
And people wonder what an escrow officer does. She and the other people on our team are doing tremendous work.
So we have a new escrow officer as well. We added Crystal. She's our Spanish-speaking escrow officer. We have a new receptionist, and so our team is just growing. We're booming. Business is really picking up in Pearland. We've got a lot of things happening over there. Andrea is actually teaching some classes for me as well, and we have headshots coming up this week, and I'm taking those photos for everybody.
I watched your Facebook post, and I saw the headshot thing. That sounds awesome. So Again, though, real estate professionals need to be close to you and our complete team out there because there's educational things, continuing education, and then you have the fun things like the headshots sometimes.
You want to have a little bit of business, a little bit of network, a little bit of fun. It's great to build relationships, and I feel like all of us as business development officers are doing that with our agents, with our lenders. And in between all of us, like we just learn from each other. So it's a well-rounded world over there in Stewart Title.
And you're doing so in a magnificent way, you and the team. Brittany, let's tell people how they can reach you if they're interested in the land of pears and Stewart Title. What's the number?
So you can call us at 281-412-6900. You can actually follow us on Facebook at Stewart Title Pearland, and you can see all of our info and events that are happening right there. 281-412-6900.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Bill.
Here she is, once again, from Conroe and Magnolia, Hope Moy. It seems like a long time, but here you are, Hope.
Hey, Bill. Good to see you.
Conroe and Magnolia.
Yes.
The hot spots of
Montgomery County.
It is the shining stars of Montgomery County. Well, let's tell people what's going on up there in Conroe and Magnolia.
Well, we are almost done with the construction on 1488. We're winding down.
Well, that's good to hear.
But it is all gone in front of my Magnolia office. So super happy about that.
Because that's right. There was a whole bunch of construction, like barriers and congested traffic, the whole deal.
Yes. So it took a little minute to get to the office of Magnolia, but everything is working just fine these days.
And what's the balance as we think about Conroe and Magnolia? Which is one's a bigger office, or what are the differences other than where they're geographically at?
I have some new news.
Please.
So we just added a new escrow officer to my Conroe office. So now we have 3 escrow officers in Magnolia and 3 in Conroe. Yes, I'm super excited. Today was her first day.
So that's because you're bringing in all this business.
Yes.
Being on the radio show. Being on the radio does not help because, we get numbers every now and then. The numbers are increasing. The various platforms are increasing. So a lot of ears are out there and responding to the great work that we're all doing.
Absolutely.
We're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Hope, let's tell people how they can reach you in Conroe and Magnolia.
They can call me on my cell, 346-224-1908. Again, it's 346-224-1908. We would love to partner with you and give us a call if there's anything we can ever help you with.
Well, please come back and see us.
I will. I'll be here in a couple of weeks.
That's what I thought. Thanks, Hope. Good to see you once again.
Thanks.
So here we are, 2 business development people, but now yet a third. Can you imagine? Here she is, Morgan Waters. Morgan, welcome to the show, and let's tell people your office.
My office, sorry guys, sorry for the voice situation. My office is Stewart and League City.
League City, a league of their own, right?
We are a league of our own out there. It's fun. We work down there in the south, League City, Santa Fe, Seabrook, Kemah, all that fun area.
And when we think about growing areas, the League City office, even though it's in the other direction than the office Hope's in, it's grown too, especially lately since you've been on board, and Kimberly and everybody.
Yeah, our office has changed significantly over the last 6 or so months. We have grown from 2 escrow officers down to 1 and now up to 3. So we have 3 escrow officers that work in a team situation. So each of our escrow officers have their own processor and they genuinely run off as a team. So it's been a lot of fun to watch our leadership change and significantly grow our team.
That's right. Doing tremendous work. And each one of our business development people, one of the things you do a lot, like we all do, but you're consulting with people and telling the real estate professionals, informing them of all the tools that you have.
Yeah.
And you are very good at conducting those one-on-ones and those group meetings where because we have so many tools and it seems like things are growing all the time and new things are being added.
That is one of my favorite things. It's why I don't have a voice. That's all I'm doing out there.
Yeah.
But no, that is one of my favorite things is to share the tools that we have here at Stewart for our agents. We have so many great things from Altos research to bear printing to Title Toolbox. We have everything they could need and more. So sometimes I always tell them it's a lot to take in. So take in one thing at a time and then we'll go from there.
That Altos thing is amazing,
you
too.
love the Altos,
especially when that tool is in the hands of someone that knows how to use it and you know how to instruct people to use it. So,
absolutely.
Morgan Waters, let's tell people how they can reach you.
You can reach me on my cell at 281-630-0179. Again, my cell phone, 281-630-0179.
Here he is once again, Fernando Chavia.
Double down on yourself. I think whatever it is you want to achieve in this world, in this life, I think if you just get around awesome individuals like this, there's plenty of opportunity for everybody to eat. You know, I think we're all kind of, obviously we all have our own bills and things like that, but I think we're all on the same page. I think us working together collectively to solve people's problems, the byproduct we get paid, right? And that pays our bills. And so if you get really good at teaming up with people in the industry, sky's the limit. I had a very narrow-minded mentality for a little while where I thought I was in competition with everybody, and I quickly realized that if you ask for help and you get in the right rooms, you can definitely leverage your gift. And again, as far as, you know, marketing yourself, it's a competitive industry. I think if you just double down on your personality, which is the one thing that no one can imitate and no one can copy, your tribe will come to you. So that's kind of all I have.
That's a good point. There's a lot of brain power out there, and to be isolationists, it's not the way to go. To tap into that and to team up with that, that's a great word.
Its telephone number is 832-896-7615. 832-896-7615.
Thank you for being with us. And now, Arch Currid, Treetop Realty Group. Well, Arch, here we are.
We are back, sir.
We are back. Let's tell people, as far as Henry's Home, let's remind people if they want to know more about it, they must have a website. And if someone wants to help the horses and the veterans, what should we do?
Yeah, so Henry's Home, 501c3 nonprofit organization benefiting veterans and retired first responders, located there in Conroe, Texas, just off of Crichton Road, just north of the Woodlands. They can go to the website at henryshomesanctuary.org. There you will see all of the different programs that they offer. There's everything from 6-week programs, men and women group sessions, Saturday early morning donuts and brew, and self-care Saturday, among others. Keep in mind that organization is 100% supported by donations and volunteer time. And so if you'd like to donate, please go to their website. Again, that is henryshomesanctuary.org.
As far as the people, the veterans, the horses, it makes the veterans feel good, but I bet the horses get something from it too.
They do, actually. So all the horses that are on property, the 26 horses come from...
26.
They're all rescued horses. So there are a few that are Houston PD horses. There are a couple horses that used to be racing horses that are now retired. There's horses that have been surrendered. They come from a variety of backgrounds.
So if someone needs help buying or selling real estate, Arch, let's tell them how to reach you at Treetop Realty Group as you're a broker.
Yes, sir. So if you're up in the Woodlands area, Montgomery County, you can reach me at 713-540-6903 or send me an email at arch@treetoprealtygroup.com. 713-540-6903.
Thank you, Arch. And now Andrea is back. Andrea Barrios with Casa Quest Mortgage. Well, here we are. A final word, Andrea. What do you want people to know?
Two things, actually. The first one is being that the market is how it is, a lot of people go into foreclosure and they don't know that they have options. So it's a very important thing that I wanted to let the public know is that there's something called a loan modification. You don't have to just short sell or foreclose on your home. There are options to keep your home. That also being said, there are people that think that they can't qualify or they'll never be able to qualify for a loan. But if you never get a pre-approval or talk to a mortgage broker or a lender or a professional, you're never going to know how to get there or what to do to get there. And that's where I come in. I offer free consultations for buyers or future buyers and borrowers who want to know what they have to do to qualify for a loan. 832-319-9779. And the number again is 832-319-9779.
Andrea, thanks for being with us. And thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Nampick, together with John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance, all of us at Stewart Title and Stewart Insurance. We appreciate you listening. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.